Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to our pragmatics class. We are from 8th group and we are going to show the presentation about the presupposition. Hope you will enjoy the presentation. And the members of the group, there are Atsil Abdurrahman Naufal, Bunga Kartika Sari, and Mina Khairunisa. And here is the list of contents. First, we will show about the presupposition of an utterance. Before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Bunga Kartika Sari, and here I am taking the part of my friend. She is Mina Khairunisa because she is not in a good condition to speak. Hope she will get better soon. And talk about the presupposition. Presupposition is one of the topics in pragmatics, and it is something the speaker assumes to be the case prior to making an utterance. It means from the speaker's utterance, people can get other information beside on their interpretation. Presupposition of an utterance is the idea that speakers assume certain information is already known by their listeners. The information will generally not be stated and consequently will count as part of what is communicated but not said. And a presupposition is something that the speaker assumes to be the case prior to make an utterance. Speaker, not the sentences, have presupposition. All of the presuppositions of the utterances are the speakers, and all of them, in fact, can be wrong. Next, speaking of presupposition of an utterance, here the example that it can be identified some of the potentially assumed information that would be associated with the utterance. First, Mary's brother bought 3 horses. The speaker will have presupposition of the utterance that a person called Mary exists and she has a brother. Talking about the concept, presupposition is treated as a relationship between 2 propositions. The represent of the 2 propositions as in number 2 up to number 4. In the number 2, Mary's dog is cute, symbolic with B as the first proposition. And 2b, Mary has a dog, symbolic with Q. So the relationship is P and Q. It means Mary has a dog is the presupposition of Mary's dog is cute. And in the number 3, where the statement is negative and symbolic with not P, and the presupposition symbolic with Q. Even though the statement is negative, it is still represents the same presupposition that Mary has a dog. From those representation mean that the presupposition of a statement will remain constant, still true even when that statement is negative. Another example in the number 4, consider a situation in which you disagree or it is still a negative statement with someone who has already made the statement as follows: everybody knows that John is gay, symbolic with B, and everybody doesn't know that John is gay. It's symbolic with not P, but the presupposition, it is still John is gay. My name is Bunga Kartika Sari, and I will explain the types of presupposition. The first is existential presupposition. The existential presupposition are assumed to be present in possessive constructions and more generally in any definite noun phrase. The example of possessive constructions is your car. It means you have a car. In the existential presupposition, the speaker is assumed to be committed to the existence of the entities named, and the example as follows: I see the cat. The definite noun phrase is the cat. The second is factive presupposition. When a verb occurs in a sentence like, she didn't realize he was ill, it means the presupposed information following a verb realize. It can be treated as a fact and described as a factive presupposition, and the truth of the information that is stated after it. So the information from the sentence, she didn't realize, is he was ill, because he was ill is stated after the verb realized. Like another examples as follow. Number 1, we regret telling him. The verb regret indicate that we told him. And number 2, I wasn't aware that she was married. The verb aware indicate the information that she was married. Number 3, it isn't odd that he left early. The verb odd indicate that he left early. Number 4, I'm glad that it's over. The information is it is over because it is stated after the verb glad. Next, the third example is lexical presupposition. The use of one form with its asserted meaning is conventionally interpreted with the presupposition that another non-asserted meaning is understood is lexical presupposition. The examples of lexical presupposition as follow. First, he stopped smoking. It means he used to smoke. And second, they started complain. So the meaning is they were not complaining before. The third, you are late again. It means you were late before. In those examples, there is a presupposition non-asserted that the speaker tried to do something in each example. Thus, in the example number 1, stopped is conventionally interpreted as used to and presupposing smoke. In the example number 2, started is conventionally were not and presupposing complaining before. And from the example number 3, you are late again. From the word again, it presupposing you were late before. The fourth example is structural presupposition. In structural presupposition, the certain sentence structures have been analyzed as conventionally and regularly presupposing that the parts of the structure or the sentence already assumed to be true. The speakers can use such structures to treat information as presupposed is assumed to be true and accepted as true by the listeners. Like the example, when did he leave? The WH question construction in English when is conventionally interpreted with the presupposition that the information after WH forms is already known to be the case. Like, when did he leave? The answer he left appeared to be accepting the truth of did he leave. And another example as follows: how fast was the car going when it ran the red light? The answer would appear to be accepting the truth of the presupposition that the car ran the red light. The information that the speaker believes appear to be what the listeners should believe. Next is non-factive presupposition. In non-factive presupposition, the context assumed not to be true. The examples as follow: I dreamed that I was rich, and the context assumed that I was not rich. And number 2, we imagined we were in Hawaii. The fact is we were not in Hawaii. And the example number 3, he pretends to be ill. And the context assumed that he is not ill. The verbs in those sentences are used with the presupposition what that follows is not true. The counterfactual presupposition type of the structure that is interpreted which the meaning is presupposed is not only true, but it is the opposite of what is true or contrary to fact. Like the example as follows: if you were my friend, you would have helped me. It means you are not my friend. A conditional structure of the type shown generally called a counterfactual conditional presupposes the information in the if clause is not true at the time of utterance.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Asil Abdurrahman Noval, and I will explain about presupposition triggers. Presuppositions are used as a language medium which aims to form an ideology for the reader. The trigger of the presupposition acts as a tool for the writer or in directing the reader's interpretation of facts and events to form a favorable or unfavorable bias throughout the text. Presuppositions use the implicit meaning expressed by the author with the use of certain words. There are 6 types of triggers for presupposition according to Yule, namely existential, factive, lexical, structural, non-factive, and counterfactual. A. Existential presupposition. Existential presupposition is the assumption of the entity's existence named by the speaker. It is signed by the use of noun phrases and possessive construction. For example, the teacher taught math. There is a teacher. Andy is a professor. There is a professor. B. Factive presupposition. Factive presupposition is the assumption that something is true due to the presence of some as know, realize, be glad, be sorry, regret, aware, odd, etc. For the example, she didn't realize that he was ill. She was ill. We regret telling him. We told him. C. Lexical position. Lexical presupposition refers to using one word. The speaker can act as if another meaning will be understood. In this case, the use of words stop, start, again presuppose another concept. For example, he stopped smoking. He used to smoke. They start complaining. They complaining before. D. Structural presupposition. Structural presupposition refers to the assumption associated with the use of certain structures. The listener perceives that the information presented is necessarily true rather than just the presupposition of the person asking the question. For example, when did he leave? He left. Where did you buy the bike? You bought the bike. E. Non-factive presupposition. Non-factive presupposition is an assumption referred to something that is not true. For example, I dreamed that I was rich. I was not rich. We imagined we were in Hawaii. We were not in Hawaii. F. Counterfactual presupposition. Counterfactual presupposition is the assumption that what is presupposed is not only untrue, but is the opposite of what is true, or contrary to facts. For example, if you were my friend, you will have helped me. You are not my friend. If I were not short, I would have become a stewardess. I am short. G. Relative and adverbial. Relative and adverbial clauses are also found to presuppose information. For example, the incident occurred in a region where there is a large Kurdish population. There is a large Kurdish population.
Thank you all for being here today and taking the time patiently listen to what we had to say. Have a good day, everyone, and if you have a question, just feel free to ask. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.